So are you limited on space at home? Do you find yourself working at the kitchen table and it's just not enough room? Have you ever wanted to get into airbrushing but just don't have the space for it? Or is a tight budget keeping you from going out and buying an airbrush and a compressor? Well, what I have in this black box right here could be a solution to your problems. Today we're going to try it out and see if it works. So in this box is an airbrush and a compressor combo. No, it's not the big bulky compressor that you take up a lot of room with and makes a lot of noise. This is something that's basically fairly new, and I wanted to try it out today. If this works out, this could definitely be a game changer when it comes to painting. All right, so let's crack it open and see what's in this thing. All right, so this box here is by a company called UFU. I don't know if that's UFU or what, but anyway, I kind of cheated a little bit. I opened the box earlier just to see what all came inside of it, and this is kind of neat here. It actually has an airbrush that comes with it. You got an extra cup here to put. You got two different sizes of cups, so like if you have just an enormous amount of paint to use, you got that right there. Now I would think I would use this right here for primer, maybe, but we'll see. And then this right here is what I want to see. This is the actual compressor. So this thing claims that it actually puts out 30 PSI, and if it does, then that will be perfect. I mean, so basically you would have an airbrush in your hand, you wouldn't have any wires or anything like that, and it theoretically would work just fine. Now my concern is you have this whole bulky thing in your hand like this, but one good thing that it does, and I've already taken it out and I couldn't get it back into the box, is it actually comes with an air line. So an air line that you can run from this little compressor gadget here to your airbrush, so that way your airbrush is still free and you don't have this thing just kind of attached to the airbrush. It's set separately. But what it is you press the button and that's the compressor kicking on, and it recharges. So that's kind of neat. Again, this is something that I've seen on other channels. I forget who I saw it on this most recent time, but I wanted to try it out and see if it actually works. And if it does, this will be great for you guys that don't have a lot of space, don't want to fork out a lot of money for the compressor and the airbrush itself, because that could be a few $100s. Now granted, this is no top of the line airbrush. I mean, this is kind of a little cheap China model, but it may be good for doing like primer or something. But I'm going to try it out and see how good it really is. I imagine you can actually use, if you have a more high dollar airbrush that you're used to using, you can actually hook this one up to it, so shouldn't be a problem. But on this, you got your cleaning kit, you got your little wrench for your needle and everything, and then it's got your charging cord. So it's got everything here that you need. I'm looking for something to paint now. I'm going to put it together, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to slap some paint and see if this thing really works. All right, everybody, so I got this thing together. The one thing that I want to say about this is I am not endorsed by this product. I am not sponsored by it. This company did not provide me with this, so if this thing sucks, then you're going to know. I'm going to give you my honest feedback on it and let you know how everything works. It kicks on, so that's pretty cool, just like an airbrush. Now this thing supposedly has like an hour time when you have it fully charged. So that was one of the reasons why I took it out. I wanted to actually charge it to make sure. But yeah, okay, I mean, it's kind of loud on the desk, but there's air coming through it. All right, so let's load up some paint and we're going to airbrush something. So this does have the screw top cap that goes onto this. I'm actually going to paint this bust right here. This is a Punisher bust. You know, Punisher's my favorite character. This is a bust from Eastman, and I just recently joined his Patreon. The guy has some incredible models. I'm going to put a link in the description for his Patreon. His welcome pack is like 3 gigs full of files, different busts and everything. So that was amazing. It took me like 2 hours to download it. So go over and check him out. But yeah, I'm going to put some paint into this. We're going to do skin tones. Skin tones I mixed up from my last video. All right. So the one thing I want to see. There we go. So yeah, we're getting paint through there. All right, let's see how this works here. All right, so definitely got some paint on there. Pretty good coverage. The compressor is working. I mean, I am here to say that it is probably pumping out about 30 to 35 psi. There's no way to adjust that, which is fine. That's about what we use in figure painting anyway. I did get my paint a little too thin. That's why I have that there. But it does seem like it's pushing enough air to get paint through. It's not noisy except for just the little rumble that you hear. The airbrush is not the best. It's probably really good for, going to be good for base coats or primer, but you can actually get you a quick connect to attach to this and hook up your airbrush and use your own airbrush. But other than that, it's not a bad deal. This whole thing was only like $69.99 on Amazon, and I'll post a link in the bottom description for you to get one or try one if you want. It is an affiliate link, so I would appreciate it if you use that affiliate link. It's no extra cost to you. Gives a little kickback to my channel and helps grow the channel. So that would be awesome if you could do that for me. And I'm actually going to go ahead and finish painting this figure here for the most part. All right, so one thing I'm going to do beforehand is we know we can get down some good base coats. With this, what I want to try now is I actually want to try some detail work. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of detail in the face, and let's see if we can get in good enough to where this actually turns out okay. So and you can see there, we're getting enough air pressure, just light enough that's good to control. So you can get in for some pretty good details. Now, one thing I will share with you is if you're having trouble getting very, very close in a tight spot with your airbrush, take this top part off right here, exposing the needle, and that will allow you to get up very, very closely in order to do some fine line work. That's just a little side note there. All right, so now I got my personal airbrush hooked up to this, and we're going to try and do a little bit of highlight in the face, and let's see how it turns out. All right, guys, so this turned out pretty good. I went in with a little bit deeper shade on the pinkish reddish area into the eyes, the nose, the lips, like I always talk about doing. And then I went back and I kind of blended it all together with a little bit lighter skin tone. And I think it turned out pretty good. It's got a lot of depth in there. It's got a lot of contrast. I'm getting ready to, because it's Punisher, he's got to have a 5 o'clock shadow, and I'm going to do a little bit of something that I haven't done in a while, and that is I'm actually going to airbrush the hair on there. I like how I do that with bigger pieces, and it tends to blend a little better, a little more realistic. The only problem that you have is when you actually do hair on one of these statues, it's just very bold and it just cuts off right on the hairline. And we all know that our hair doesn't look like that. So that's why I'm going to try this again. I've done it on a few of my older pieces, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to airbrush the line right through here all the way down to the sideburns with an airbrush. Not going to mask it off or anything like that, but this is definitely a process that's going to tell whether this thing is going to be really good to pay attention to detail or not. So I'm liking how this is turning out. Originally, I was just going to do this video to show you what the airbrush is capable of, but instead I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this bust. We're going to do it together. So here we go. All right, so there we go. So I did have a boo-boo spot right there. A little bit of the paint come out a little bit more than what I wanted it to, but that's okay because I'm going to do a transition right around there from the hairline to the hair to make it flow a little bit evenly. And what I didn't do is I didn't do around the ears because when you use this airbrush, I mean, you'll get a lot of overspray on the ears and stuff, and I'll have to clean those up. So, but again, what I did was I just took that tip off and got me a little closer to where I needed to be. And so now I'm going to fix this transition, and the hair will be done. All right, so I did the transition on the hair, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paint the skull an off-white, because the rest of it is pretty much black except for just a little bit of highlights that I'll do with some dry brushing. And then after we get done with that, then we'll detail the face. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and block all of this out away from the face and on the back and around the skull, so that way we can airbrush the rest of it. All right, so now that I have the skull blocked in and everything around it blocked in, so I don't have to mask anything off to airbrush the rest of it. I've already started a little bit on the face. I'm going to finish up the eyebrows, put in the eyes, finish the lips, and then the face will be all done, and then we'll go on to finish this bust up. So the one thing I do like to do to the eye is kind of explain it to you a little bit. I do put a little black up around the top of the eyelid, and then I go ahead and I paint it white just like I showed you. And then I also like to put a little bit of a reddish pinkish color there for the bottom of the eyelid, where you actually can see kind of the blood area. I don't like to do like, you know, many painters and other painters like to paint the whole thing black and then paint the inside white, and then paint a pupil, color it, and put a little white dot there. That's not me. I don't like to do that. I let the light represent where it comes in at from any angle rather than having one directional. So that's why I do what I do. So a lot of people ask me how I get the pupil so well balanced and centered into the eye. And basically it's just paying very close attention to what you're doing. I do use like some glasses in order to focus in a little bit better. And for the iris, I like to use a like a blue-gray mix, and then the black over back the top of it, and then just kind of blend in the lines. But it does take a lot of patience and a steady hand, which a lot of times I don't have these days. So anytime that I can show you how to do an eye or how I do an eye, then I'm going to take advantage of that, because I always think that I need practice on this. All right, so we got our face pretty much detailed. All the skin tones are there. 5 o'clock shadow, the eyes are done. So the last part in completing this model is finishing up the coat or the jacket, and then the base. The base is not very hard at all. So we're just going to go through and start painting. Okay, so the only thing that we have left is the base, and we can pretty much paint whatever color we want to on this thing to go with the bust. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it this dark steel color right here from Vallejo, their Mecha color, and then I'm going to put like a little bit of a rust effect around it and just kind of make it look weathered. And that is all the detail. The only thing we need to do now is we're going to put a gloss on the eye and the lips. And this will be done. We're going to put it on the base, and then we're going to weather the base a little bit. And up next is the final reveal. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. Well, there you have it, everybody. My general take on this, is it worth the $69.99? I think so. I think this is a good tool to use if you have space constraints. I put it through every single test and it seemed to pass. We could put down base colors. I ran metallics through it, ran primer through it. The only thing is the airbrush it comes with is not all that great. But you can use your existing airbrush with it, and it works pretty good. But this does what it says. It does pump about 30 psi through it, and all in all, it worked pretty well. The model turned out great. So I will definitely put a link to it in the bottom description if you wish to pick one up. So if you used one of these before and you like it, dislike it, or whatever, definitely put a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. So a couple of ways you can support the channel. Number one is subscribe. Second one is I do have a Patreon. The link is below. You can discuss all kinds of things, get heads up on stuff like this, and talk about printing, painting, everything else. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And a big shout out to my current patrons. So until the next video, everybody, get out there and create something, paint something, print something, do all that. And we'll see you in the next video.